Hey guys, this is Austin, and today I'm here at CES 2018 with Razer's Project Linda. So while it might look like an ordinary laptop, this is actually being powered by the Razer phone. So essentially the hardware is kind of similar to something like the Razer Blade Stealth, so you're still getting a 13-inch display, but instead of having Windows and a standard like core processor inside, everything is being run off of the Razer phone. Now the idea has been done before, but what hasn't is something that, well, actually isn't terrible. Now, to be clear, this is still a concept, so it's not necessarily going to be on sale, and there are some changes before this would hit production. But the idea of being able to take your phone, spend all day using it as a standard phone, and when you're ready, dropping it in and turning it into a laptop is really cool. So it all starts with the Razer phone. Now say what you will about the hardware, but it is beefy and it actually matches the laptop pretty well. So instead of having a standard trackpad, what we do is we actually just drop the phone in, and then with one button, it motorizes the little USB-C port, and the actual laptop will turn on. So it takes just a second right now. Obviously this is a prototype. Once it's up and running, the phone screen just turns into a trackpad. They've actually done a lot of interesting engineering to make this work. So we hit the button to detach the phone. There's just going to be a little cutout here where we can grab it. And what's cool is not only does this keep the power button exposed, but we also still have access to the fingerprint sensor. Now what's cool is we can actually even motorize it without the phone in. So you can see the USB port just kind of pops in and pops out. Also, I just really like the noise. It just sounds so cool. Now, not only does the phone serve as the trackpad right now, but it also is still going to be using these speakers. Now, if you guys caught my best smartphones of 2017 video, you'll know that the Razer phone has the best speakers of any phone I've ever tried. So using this for a laptop should work just fine. The rest of the hardware should be very familiar if you tried a recent Razer laptop. We have full control over the RGB lighting, so even though the configurator is a little bit lighter than what you're gonna get on Windows, we can still do things like getting full RGB wave because, you know, I actually don't have anything to say to that. It's very colorful. Beyond that, the rest of the hardware is fairly straightforward. So there is an actual battery inside that will be able to charge the phone while it's docked. But beyond that, you've got a USB-C port for charging, a headphone jack, as well as a full-size USB-A. Now they said that they would like to add an HDMI port at a later date, but for a prototype, this is actually pretty close. It feels fairly straightforward as far as the build quality. It feels a lot, honestly, like a Razer Blade Stealth, which is definitely a good thing. This guy is rocking a 13.3-inch panel with a 1080p resolution, at least for now. So the main issue is, with the prototype at least, it is not a touchscreen. So with the final version, it would be nice to at least have that touchscreen that you could use alongside the phone. But if they could bump it up to say 120 Hz or maybe even 1440p, that would be awesome. Because this is all Android, some apps are going to look better than others, but for example, YouTube actually is not too bad. I will also say it is really nice to have a proper keyboard. So while the actual touchpad experience is maybe not quite fully fine-tuned, you can just plug a mouse in and it should work just like this.
It's time to drive the Model 3. So you got this for how long?
Dude,
I've had it for 4 days.
this sounds like proper laptop speakers. I've listened to lots of laptops that are nowhere near this loud, but it's all just coming from the phone. While most Android apps are going to run fine, some are actually going to be specifically optimized for a larger display, such as Lightroom. Now this is maybe not going to be the full experience, but what you're getting here is something that is going to be pretty impressive, especially considering that it is, after all, running on a phone. So this is how I edit photos, just crank everything up. You know, just saturation, let's just crank that. I mean, that's obviously a beautiful, beautiful image. Wes doesn't approve, I can feel it right now. It's a hard no. The pained look on your face as I crank up saturation. No, no, no. Of course, as a Razer product, gaming has to be on the agenda. And here we're going to play a little bit of Vainglory. Now, this is a game that obviously will run fine on the Razer phone, but with a mouse and keyboard, I'm actually curious to see how it plays. I'm still really impressed with just how close this feels to like I'm playing on an actual laptop. The screen is nice, the speakers are solid, and especially with this keyboard, it does make a big difference. The Razer Project Linda is surprisingly close to being ready, however, it is still a concept right now. So not only does the hardware need some tweaks, specifically by adding a touchscreen and maybe something like an HDMI port, but the software also could use some work. But my big question here is, what is the price going to be? Considering that this only works with the Razer phone, if this was somewhere around $300, I think it would be a pretty solid deal. But if it gets closer to $400, $500, or $600, that's where it becomes a little bit more questionable. But I'm curious, what do you guys think about Razer Project Linda? Let me know in the comments below, and I will catch you in the next one.